What is up everyone, I'm Phoenix, how are you getting on? Welcome to a special video today. I will be talking about my top 5 games of this decade. Because of course it is the end of this decade, the 2010s is officially over in about 2 days from now. This list will be in no particular order, so don't think number 1 is actually my number 1 or that number 5 is my number 5. But these are my top 5 games if I had to pick 5 games from this decade. Number 1, Telltale's The Walking Dead. Ah yes, The Walking Dead. Definitely one of my favorite games of all time. It is just so good. I can't really explain why I like it so much, but if I really had to pick one, then this would probably be it. Yes, it is slightly predictable in its story for some people, but it's so extremely well executed that it doesn't really matter to me. It's just an amazing story, it's very well told. Of course there's zombies in it, which is always a plus. And the characters are just amazingly well developed. Of course, little Clementine, one of my favorite game characters of all time, because she is just adorable and we get to see her grow up in this series, and that really means a lot to me actually, because I've really grown with her along, and that was just a great experience for me. Yes, Telltale has made some good games and some bad games in the past, but this one is special to me and by far the best game they ever made. Not all the seasons were amazing, I'll be honest. Season 1 was probably my favorite, but Season 4 is also really close to my heart. I really liked that Season 2. I liked the characters in it, I liked the romance options. And I just liked that it was all about kids, and teenagers growing up in this world. And that was just very interesting to me. Season 2 and Season 3 were less good. Season 2 was still pretty good, but I didn't like most of the characters that much. And Season 3 was just... well, I wouldn't say bad, but it was definitely the worst one of the bunch. And now, I will not spoil the plot for you in case you haven't played or seen this game. But I can tell you though that this game was definitely one of the first games and one of the only games to ever make me cry. I cried so much, both in Season 1 and Season 4. It was just very emotional and it was so well done that you really felt for these characters by the end of the games. And while there's a lot of controversy around Telltale games, of course, I don't think it mattered in this game. We still got an amazing game. So amazing that it even made this list. Alright, next up we have BioShock Infinite. This was a very special game to me, especially because I didn't expect much of it when I first saw this game. But the main reason why I started playing it, because the screenshots and the trailers that I saw just looked amazing. Keep in mind, this game came out in 2013, which is now 6 years ago. But it still looks like it came out yesterday. I really liked the colors in this game. I liked the story as well, the dark theme about it. In this colorful world, it really fitted. But mainly the graphics, man, were just amazing to look at. I know you shouldn't judge a game just based on its graphics, but it still looks amazing till this date, and that's just special to me. If you can make a game that still looks this good 6 years later, then you did something right. Now the story specifically was actually very intense and confusing at the same time. Yes, it had a dark theme, yes it was very well written, but at the time of playing it, I couldn't fully understand the story myself, but not in a bad way. It wasn't stupidly, overly confusing, but it was just very well made. And there were so many intricate details about it that you just can't stop playing it. And it even had replay value because of that, because the second time around you just saw new stuff you hadn't seen before. And that was very special to me, I've never had that in a story like this, where you just couldn't fully understand it the first time around. And I still don't fully understand it till this date, but I know it is amazing. I also really liked the characters in it, especially Elizabeth. She was very well done, her character was very well developed. And next to all that, there was also some very good gameplay in it, you know? There were some shooting scenes, and there were enemies, and it was kind of an open world game in a way. And that was very interesting, especially you had all the powers, you had like superpowers which you could use, but not ones that made you overpowered in a way. You still had to fight for it, and it was still pretty hard at times. You also really had to use your own environment to your best abilities, and that made it pretty interesting. Of course, I'm also very excited about the announcement of a BioShock 4 coming sometime in the future, hopefully not too long away from now, and hopefully a lot like this game. GTA 5, huh? Yes, we have that game on the list as well. I have to mention it, of course. I know it's an overly set thing, and there are a lot of problems with GTA 5, but in my opinion, it is the best GTA to ever come out till this date. GTA is just such a unique concept. There's no game that does it as well as GTA does. There's so much freedom in it, so many unique things you can do, and they're all very well made, you know. The game is not about driving, but the driving system implemented is very well done. The game is not about shooting either, but the shooting element is also really well made. Other than that, you can just do so many activities, you can do heists, you can buy cars, buy houses, and there's even an online mode, which is pretty fun to play with friends. Now obviously, I'm not gonna lie, GTA was far from perfect. It had a very rough launch. The performance was pretty bad on some platforms, and still is till this date, honestly. Another downside is that single player never got as much love as online, so we never had any single player story DLCs, which is really a shame. And one of the biggest problems I personally had with the game is that it really tries to milk its players in online. Stuff is insanely expensive, you have to spend millions for one car sometimes. It was pretty much impossible to grind for that. Either you had to grind by doing many heists back to back successfully, or you had to pay a lot of real money to get some in-game money. I understand from their view why they do it, because it is successful, but I just don't like the way they did it, and I felt like they should have at least had a casual mode where everything was just obtainable more easily. But overall, I still really like this game, and I can definitely consider it as one of the best games of this decade. Alright, next up we have Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Now, I always loved my Assassin's Creed games, and even though I didn't play the recent ones, I still remember playing them when I was a lot younger, and they really made an impact on me and even on my life. It is mostly because of Assassin's Creed that I got a passion for history as well, even going as far as to considering a degree in history, and most of that is because of Assassin's Creed. Now yes, of course, it is a game of fiction, but there are a lot of truth elements in there and a lot of real history, which was really interesting to me at the time. Now as for the game itself, I really debated on which game to pick as my favorite Assassin's Creed. I really liked Assassin's Creed 2, but that came out before this decade. Brotherhood was just insanely good. It was very closely matched to Assassin's Creed 2. Ezio was by far my favorite assassin as well. He was just such a good character, and I also like the real life story element to it with Desmond Miles and everything to it. And of course the Golden Apple. The story itself was just well made, you had a lot of freedom in the world too, a lot of great gameplay elements in it, including commanding your own assassins for the first time, which was a pretty cool mechanic. That was really the first time that I had a control over AI and what they did, and that was a very cool thing to experience. And of course, I have to mention the great Da Vinci inventions in the game. From parachutes to tanks, actual ancient tanks in the game that you could control yourself. That was just so cool to mess around with and to see how that worked. It's definitely one of those games that I remember playing when I was a lot younger, and I really enjoyed it, so that's why I decided it should make this list. Now, the final entry on the list might surprise actually a lot of people. I think a lot of people will not have heard about this game in general. It is called What Remains of Edith Finch. It is a small indie game that came out about 2 years ago. I played it on the channel and it blew my mind away. It was really surprising. I didn't expect too much of it, but first of all, it looked amazing. The graphics were really good. It felt really nice, it felt smooth. The lighting and the colors were amazingly done. And the story, well, don't even get me started about the story. It was confusing and weird, but more weird as in quirky, not in a bad way at all. It was very unique. I've never played a game that unique. It is only 3 hours long, but it really stayed with me, you know. In a way, you could really relate to the characters really good. The story basically follows Edith Finch as she goes to her old house where her whole family lived, and you get to experience the story of her family. Every character gets a turn, and in a cute and animated way, you can learn what happened to everyone. And yes, the story and the gameplay was weird, but it fitted the game, you know. It's basically a walking simulator, but because of all the little side missions, you could say, in between, it made it feel so much more interesting and unique. It's also a really sad story, and I'm just a sucker for sad stories if they're done well, so that's why I decided it should make this list as well. Really, go and check it out if you haven't already. A link is in the description down below. Now, that is it for this list. I know there are many more games that came out this year that I didn't put in this list. A lot of them were really good as well. A lot of them I probably also didn't play myself because while this decade has been amazing and I have played a lot of games this decade, I cannot say that I played every game, not even every big game. For instance, Nintendo, I pretty much didn't play any Nintendo games this whole decade. So I've heard great things about The Legend of Zelda, for instance, but I just didn't play them, so I cannot judge about those games myself. I hope you understand that these are my personal picks. It could be different from your picks. In that case, I want to hear from you guys. What were your favorite games of this decade? Let me know down in the comments below. Anyway, let's talk a bit about this year and this decade for me and the channel. First, the decade. While I've only been alive in 3 decades so far technically, I can easily say that this one had the most changes for my own personal life. So much happened. If I think back about 10 years ago, I was 12 years old. I was still at school. I hated it. I failed many classes just because, not because I was too stupid to keep up, but just because I didn't understand why I had to do certain courses that didn't even fit me. Things that I had no interest in whatsoever. And I just couldn't bring myself to do them. Which is why I dropped out of high school when I was about 12, 13 years old. I went to a different kind of school. A school that had a lot of freedom. You didn't have to follow any sort of courses if you didn't want to. And that really made me come back as a person and made me a lot happier again over time. Because 10 years ago, I was a super shy, insecure, and quiet kid. And while I'm still not super overly excited and overly enthusiastic about everything till this day, it's very, very different from back then. Even in physical appearance, I changed so much. I think I have an old picture somewhere of me during that period, beginning of this decade, so I'll just show it here somewhere on the screen. And I mean, look at this dude. I mean, how much he has changed since then. It's insane. After that, I also changed quite a lot of schools during that period and different houses even. I moved quite a lot around and I had a pretty rough beginning of the decade to begin with. I had a rough childhood in a way and I was treated pretty badly in school by some people. And that really hurt me for the future, you know. I'm still experiencing the consequences for that period of time, but it's getting better by the year. It really is. Every single year it's better, and every time I look back at the year, I'm just happy how it went. And you guys are a part of that. You guys are helping me grow as well. Without you, I wouldn't be able to do YouTube. Without you, I wouldn't be doing it in the first place. I really appreciate all of you watching this video or any video that you watched from me. Anything you did for me, anytime you shared something, anything you did. Even just subscribing or leaving a comment, it means so much to me. So really, thank you. I really mean it. It's such a great honor to be here, and I'm just so grateful that I get to do this at this point, so thank you so much. This year specifically too has been amazing for the channel. I started with about 100 subscribers at the start of this year. Right now we're at over 1100 subscribers. That's more than 10 times as much. Same with the view count. I had about 10,000 total views as of last year. Right now I have 150,000 total views. That's just insane to me. Thank you, thank you. If we can manage to do the same in the coming year and somehow reach maybe 10,000 subscribers, who knows, I'll be able to go at it full time and feel a lot more secure about doing this for a long time as well. Because yes, if I do want to keep doing this, I do have to keep growing and have to build up an income from this all. And that's not because I'm like, I don't want to do this if I don't make anything, but simply because I have to. I have to do something in life. I have to make money, and if I want to put in all this time in YouTube, it has to be YouTube itself. So that's why I do want to ask you guys one more time, please share this video or share any one of my videos with your friends. Every single one of you counts, so I'm really grateful that you're all here, and I really hope that you can stay here as well. That's why I'm also asking for your suggestions. If there's anything you really want to see on the channel, of course let me know, and I'll try my best to get to it as soon as I can. Keep writing your comments too, because I love interacting with you guys. It's so much fun to reply to comments, to read what you guys have to say. It's all so good. It's all so good and so much fun. But anyway, I can't ramble on forever, so I'm just gonna leave this video here, I think. I hope you guys enjoyed it for what it was. There are some other special videos going up tomorrow and the coming days. Don't worry, I'm not done yet. And next year I will be going at it full time again. Anyway, this was you Phoenix. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe now for more to come. Until then, be brave, be kind, and stay awesome.